welcome back to Random Prompt Stories. It has not been that long, actually, and I'm pleasantly surprised that I was able to get this done uh, in sort of a meaningful time frame. uh, this will be the story for, I guess, January, because it's like 2 years till New Year's. No, not 2 years. That would be weird. It's like a day. Also, the audio might be slightly different now because of exciting news. I have graduated, so now I am fully BS, and I also do not have access to the university's library until it opens up in the spring. So, I am in my room currently. So if you hear any noises of garbage trucks or train horns and or screaming people, you know what's going on. Hopefully, because I don't. Um, so this this month's prompt, uh, as a reminder, let's get to the reminder. Let's please can I see what the prompt is? Okay, so the story prompt for this month was one night a lost man reads from a clay tablet and becomes a government agent. Now, this one I kind of cheated on. I talked to somebody else about it and he was like, this could be funny. What if it was like what I'm about to write? And therefore I wrote what I was about to write. And I think it turned out okay. It's pretty short. Reading doc will be in the description. I don't know if they call that on Spotify, but it'll be there. Anyways, so without further ado, here is the fourth story. Host. To most people, a man in a ratty coat begging on street corners near the various tourist locations in DC isn't too much of an unexpected sight. Homeless people exist, even if most do their best to ignore them. If anyone would care to look closely at this particular person, however, and of course no one does, they might have noticed a few things about him that are different from the average hobo. First off, he doesn't seem all too interested in begging. While his eyes do scan the crowd from his position sitting against the wall, he isn't talking to anyone walking by. He seems sound of mind as well, a far cry from most of those who have been cast to the fringes of society. Secondly, despite the general air of hostility of the police to the homeless, he never seems to be bothered by them when they pass by. Nobody else seems to pay him much mind either, even when he occasionally gets up and walks through the crowd. People just don't notice him, not even in a bad light. And third, he seems to have a purpose here. There's a deliberate quality to each step he takes around the square, keeping only to the area around the Library of Congress. He barely looks up when people around him gawk at the Capitol building, and although he doesn't exactly stare, his eyes are always scanning in the direction of the library. But of course, no one notices. The man known as Alamu is just another face to look away from in pity. Another sad case, digging through garbage for food, even to the other homeless people in the area. But he notices them. He watches people passing by, going in and out of the library, taking pictures of the architecture. The first time he saw the small slabs in their hands, he was confused, but with enough observation, he began to think of it like taking an imprint of an object, albeit more clearly and with less limits than he was used to. This world is fascinating to him, closer to the stories of housewives than anything from his reality, but similar enough to be understood. Not only that, but exploited. He just needs to get into that library. The whispering voice of his god no longer echoes as loudly in his ear. Enlil isn't as strong in this era as he was in the past. The only words he can hear tell him to find it. Get in and find it. That would be his key to the world. He knows vaguely what it is, of course. An artifact lost long before his time, and said to be carved from the very primordial clay that humanity was shaped from. Its history was turned to myth far beyond this land was even known by the people across the sea. His god had not only sent him far into the future, but far across the world. But he adapted, blended in, and after a week of watching and waiting, it was time to unlock the door. He waited until nightfall. There were guards inside, of course, but they were easy to predict. Once the moment came, he tugged at the minds of the two he picked out earlier to drag them to sleep. It was easy. One gesture to hook them, and one to pull them down. The minds of these people were so simple to manipulate. They must have forgotten how to ward off magic long ago. Sliding through a cracked window, smaller than a hair but wide enough for smoke, he strides his way through the various rooms. In his hand is a forked stick. In every few steps he points it around the room, turning and following where it tugs. Soon enough, he reaches the seemingly blank wall. He passes the stick over its width, then smiles to himself. Raising a hand, he twists his wrist, and a crack splits the wall down the middle. It's a door, of course, and he pushes against it to force his way inside. Behind the door is a dimly lit area, tightly packed cases holding various artifacts all lined up in rows. Alamu walks into the back of the room, scanning the cases with his eyes as sharp as ever, and the stick. Soon enough, he finds what he's looking for. A small clay tablet, printed with the form of cuneiform, archaic even to the scholars of his time. But even though the plaque on the case listed it as untranslatable, he can read the title as clearly as his own name. The Tablet of the Host. He hears footsteps on the tile behind him, but he doesn't look up. There were undoubtedly wards that he crossed on his way in. Not even he can anticipate all the spells collected and used in this place. But the guards cannot stop him now. His eyes travel down the lines of text on the tablet, taking it all in. A guard yells at him from behind in the odd language he's heard most often here, but he keeps reading. Even if he did understand what the man was saying, it wouldn't have registered. The voice of Enlil rings in his ears, growing stronger with each line he reads. More of the guards are yelling, but he's almost there. Almost to the end. Suddenly, the homeless man's eyes go wide. He staggers back, blinking in confusion. Looking around at the guards, he tries to say something, but the words come out strained and malformed, as if he's unsure how to form them. He grows increasingly distressed, pointing at himself and repeating a mangled word louder and louder. Shamun, Shamun, Shamun. A few tense, confused moments pass between the guard and this foreign, shabby man. Then he steps forward, or tries to. A shot rings out before his foot hits the ground. He falls back, the unmistakable look of betrayal on his dying face. The guards begin to disperse, some moving to secure the doors while others inspect the body. After they determine that the threat has passed, most of them leave the room, with only a few guards to back up the corpse. Two of them talk a little, trying to make sense of the situation. "He looks Iranian," one guard says. "Think it might have been some kind of terrorist thing?" The other simply nods. They zip up the body bag and let the others carry it away. The one who spoke turns to his compatriot, clapping his shoulder. "All right, Simon, I'm gonna head out. Think you can take it from here?" The other guard, Simon, nods again. "Great. I appreciate you, newbie. See you tomorrow," First says, giving a thumbs up. He leaves out a side door, disappearing after the newly acquired body. Simon, as he now knows, suppresses a shudder. It's not every day you see your own body being dragged away. This one has a few more perks, though. Its muscle memory does most of the work for him, and the language of these people is easy enough to decipher with the neural pathways already solidified. He steps closer to the case where the body fell. The tablet is intact, its imprints still readable to Simon despite the loss of most of his ability to speak the language. His hand goes to his pockets, patting them until he finds what he's looking for. The odd little slabs he's seen in the hands of tourists. The name comes to him, a phone. It can be used for a lot more than he thought, but he opens the camera, letting his new hands guide him. The images will be there long after the screen is turned off, which will definitely come in handy later. He takes a few pictures of the tablet, just in case one turns out to be imperfect, careful not to read it while he does so. After that, he lets his body's training kick in, double-checking the wards at the edge to make sure they're intact, making rounds between the cases, and generally seeing if anything is out of place. But nothing is, and there aren't even really any signs of a confrontation where the man was shot. He smiles to himself, relishing in the fact that smiling would be one gesture he wouldn't need to relearn. The rest of the journey wouldn't be easy, but at least now he has unlocked the first door. He starts off down the hall, quietly repeating his name to himself, letting his mouth get used to the shape. Simon, Simon, Simon. All right. That was Host. I do hope you enjoyed that as I kill time so I can get to my little prompt generator. So let's see what the prompt will be for next time. We will also see eventually if I will be able to get this done in January. Uh, we will find out. That's all I can say. I don't know what I'm doing in January. Anyways, so give me the Ghiblies. The horror prompt for next month, whenever it is one day in an asylum. An evil man hears strange voices and wants to destroy the forest with the help of a janitor and a girl. Huh. Kind of a kind of a little bit of out of left field there. Yeah. Like the last ones, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with this one. But you know, we will find out next month. So make sure to tune in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.